Welcome to the Grow Your Independent Consulting Business podcast. I'm Melisa Liberman, a fellow IC and business coach. On this podcast, I teach you to become a consistently booked independent consultant without becoming a pushy salesperson or working 24/7. If I can do it, you can too. Listen on to find out how. As a business coach who works with independent consultants and boutique consultancy owners, and who's been an independent consultant myself for the last 14 years, I often think about what is the difference between those consultants who have a stable, sustainable, repeatable business and those who feel like they're struggling, those who are in feast or famine, those who are constantly questioning whether they can make it, and if it's just too stressful and they want to go back to corporate. What is the difference? And today I'm breaking it down for you. The 6 elements of a sustainable independent consulting business. You deserve this, and I want to help you get it. So welcome to episode 276 of the Grow Your Independent Consulting Business podcast. This is Melisa Liberman, and that's what we're talking about today. The 6 elements of a sustainable independent consulting business and the foundation that goes underneath it all. I'm going to share with you those 6 elements and the fuel that you need to make all of the 6 elements work for you. That's what we're here for. I'm so excited you're here. And let's dive into the agenda. Because really, at the end of the day, we all want a sustainable business, right? We want to feel like we can hit our goals, whatever goal we set. We want to feel like we're not constantly working until 2 a.m. or constantly overwhelmed or constantly worried about where the next client's going to come from. I hear this all the time. I want a sustainable business. I want to feel the same security that I felt at some point in my corporate career. I want to feel like and know that this will be successful for as long as I want to run this business. This is one of the biggest things that I hear from independent consultants of what we want out of this type of business. But sometimes we're not very clear on what it actually means. What is a sustainable business? Or not sure what it will take to create a sustainable business. Or not even sure when we've arrived at a sustainable business and can keep that going as our new norm. So that's what we're going to break down today when we talk through these 6 elements of a sustainable consulting business for you. All right, let's talk about the agenda. First, I'll give you the companion resource that goes with today's episode. Then we'll talk about the definition of a sustainable consulting business for a solo consultant, an independent consultant, or maybe you've got a boutique consultancy, which is a couple of consultants and some subcontractors. This applies. We'll talk about what is that sustainable business, the definition. Then we'll dive into each of the 6 elements individually so you can think about what you have in place already, what is the norm, what is your area of opportunity, and where you can take something even further. So really looking at what are those elements and how are they operating in your business so that you can continue evolving and maintaining and growing a sustainable business. And then I want to share with you that foundational piece that underlies all of those 6 elements that is incredibly important and is something that is very commonly overlooked. I don't want that to happen for you because you can put those 6 elements in place, but when you're missing this foundational piece, they're very shaky. All right, and then we'll wrap it up with putting this episode into action. I have a question that I want to share with you that can help kick it off for you when we get to that part. Okay, the companion resource is the Consultant's Business Health Check. It is a 14-point assessment, so going even deeper into the elements that we're talking about today to understand and help you diagnose where your business is strong, where your business isn't as strong, and prioritize your areas of opportunity so that you know where your focus area should be at any given time. If you're listening to this in the real time, we're about to start Q3. Isn't that crazy? That is so crazy to me. I can't believe, for me at least, the summer I think is already halfway over. I feel like the kids will be back in school in a blink of an eye, and you might be in a similar position. And getting the plan together for Q3 and the second half of the year is incredibly important. And one of the very first steps to make that happen is to assess, where are you at right now? What's working? What's not working? And today's episode, along with that assessment that you can find at icassessment.com, IC for independent consultant.com, that will also help you to figure out, what is your priority? What is the biggest needle mover for you to address as you look ahead to the next quarter and the next second half of this year? And if you're not listening in the real time, it's likely the beginning of another quarter or even a brand new year. This always applies. All right, my friend, let's start off with, what is sustainable? Sometimes it's easy to throw this word around, right? I do it. We throw around a word. What does this really mean? And so I wanted to go back just to the standard definition of the word, not even in the context of a consulting firm. Sustainable is able to be maintained over time without depleting resources or causing harm. That's kind of the negative version of it, right? Able to be maintained over time without depleting resources. That's you, your own resources, your own mental resources, your physical resources, your financial resources. Another way to look this on more of the bright side here is capable of continuing at a certain level or rate indefinitely. It's something that you can just keep doing, right? You're not sprinting, you're walking, you're not even running a marathon. Like, you're capable of continuing at a certain level. Another way of defining this is able to be maintained and built upon over time. Long lasting. And if we take the sustainable and apply it to your consulting business, a business you can maintain, build on, and grow over time without burning out or feeling like you need to go back to corporate or to do something else, or that you can't keep it up. So ask yourself, you're here listening to this episode, what does having a sustainable business mean to you? What does having a sustainable business mean to you? Sometimes we think about just the money. If I hear this all the time, I want to replace my corporate compensation. And so we think about sustainability as a sustainable business as, oh, it's one where I'm making more than or the same amount as corporate. But that's not complete. A sustainable consulting business is one that supports the life you want to live. I'll say it again. A sustainable consulting business is one that supports the life you want to live. You don't feel like you have to go back to corporate. You might choose to go back to corporate, but on your own terms, not because you feel like, I just can't keep this up anymore. This is really hard and I can't keep going. I need to go back and do something else. That's different, right? It's if you never feel like you have to go back again. And I will tell you, having done this for 14 years, that I don't think about going back to corporate anymore. Sometimes I think about going to work at Starbucks or like being a barista. Believe me, I know that it's not as simple as it might appear, filling all of those orders. But at the same time, like, I just don't think about that anymore. I don't think about, well, if I want to make more money, I'll go back to corporate. I think the opposite. It's like, this is the vehicle to make as much money as you want to make. So for you, are you at that place right now where it's not a serious consideration? It doesn't take 14 years to get there. Honestly, for me, I'm trying to think back as I'm talking to you here right now. I can't even remember a time where I seriously entertained going back to corporate after I left. Now, I had the benefit of literally moving across the ocean in a time where working remotely wasn't as feasible. And so there were some options that I chose to cut off for myself physically. So I think that probably helped in the situation because there was no way to entertain these other ideas. It was literally physically cut off by the Pacific Ocean at that time. But even coming back to Colorado and having old colleagues reaching out and saying, hey, you can come and work for us, like, it was never a consideration. And there were a lot of very tempting offers. Getting you to that place, if you're not there yet, it doesn't take 14 years. It can take a moment. It's a decision. And so for you, thinking about getting into that headspace of, this is what I'm committed to, this is sustainable, and I'm figuring out how to keep it as a sustainable situation until that becomes a new norm. The other thing I want to re-emphasize here is that this isn't just about the money, it's also about personally, financially, all of those things together that they operate for you. Sustainable business is not just a number, it's a feeling of being in control of what you built. It's a feeling of being the owner of the results that you create. It's a feeling of, I am secure. Sometimes we think that a weekly, a paycheck every 2 weeks is what creates security for us, but it's not. It's a collection of thoughts and beliefs about the ability, the possibility, and what you can create in this consulting business for yourself. That's where security comes from. It's not that the fact that that paycheck arrives in your bank account every few weeks. Because as we all know at this point, that could end at any point in time, right? So ask yourself, what does a sustainable business mean to you? Not just the money, all of it, comprehensively. And a lot of times it comes down to emotions. This feels sustainable. This feels like my norm. This feels like something that's doable, that's possible, that's repeatable, that I can do for the long term, that I can enjoy for and find joy and fulfillment in the long term. So now that we've talked about and set the context of what is a sustainable consulting business, and truly you'll have to answer that for yourself as well, but I've just given you a lot of ways to think about it. Let's now dive into these 5 elements, because a sustainable business does not happen by accident. It's built across these 6 dimensions that I'm going to share with you here in a moment. And it can be frequent that consultants are strong in a couple of these and others are fragile. Sometimes you're strong in a few, fragile in a few. Being fragile in one or more of these is what creates feast or famine, creates instability, creates the feeling of insecurity, lack of security. And of course, they can change over time as well. That's why I'm frequently recommending to you that you go take that health assessment for your consulting business, because things ebb and flow, right? Sometimes things are really strong and then you change something, you change your pricing, or you change what you're offering, or what type of services that you want to focus on, or the mix of services. And then everything shifts a little bit and you've got to get back to a really good equilibrium for yourself. But these 6 elements are what creates a sustainable consulting business, and we're going to dive into each one of them. Okay, let's start with number 1, which is a workable business model. A workable business model is not a perfect business model. I use workable very intentionally. It's that you have a business model where you have a clear set of problems, or even one problem that you solve for your ideal client, and which is a role in your ideal target company, that companies will pay for it, that your decision maker will want to pay for you to solve that problem, and that you deliver it in a way that works for you. That's a workable business model. It's your mix of services that you offer to your ideal clients, that they care about those services in a way that they will compensate you for delivering those solutions to them. The business model is also designed in a way that allows you to balance all of your responsibilities, that it doesn't require you to work 70 hours a week to generate revenue and you have no time left over for yourself or for your family or for running the business. That's not a workable business model, right? All of these pieces, it's like a puzzle. They work together. What kind of services you offer, how much you charge for them, how you deliver them, how much time that consumes of your capacity, and how much is left over to run the business and to run your life. All of those things come together into a workable business model. And the common failure points around this workable business model are red flags. You take what you get, right? Work comes to you and you look at it and say, well, I think this will work financially, and you agree to take it. That's not a workable business model in the long run. That's not a sustainable business model in the long run. When you're relying on and kind of vetting things and triaging them, taking what you can get, not wanting to leave money on the table. Another common failure point with respect to the workable business model, this first element, is not aligning your revenue goals with your capacity, not having all of this service mix designed together, right? Again, you want to know what you're selling, to whom you're selling it, for how much you're targeting it to be sold for, and how that fits with your capacity, your availability. Now, I will be clear, I'm not talking about charging by time or by the hour. But what I am saying is you do need to understand how much time it will take to deliver the types of services you want to deliver for the amount you want to charge for those, and that it fits within the bucket of hours that you want to allocate for client delivery. That's an overall business model that you want to be looking at and designing very clearly. And the signs that your business model is not yet workable is that you're taking whatever comes in. You're underpricing. You're feeling unfulfilled. You're feeling like you run out of time and you don't have time for your personal goals. You don't have time for working on the business. Now, let's be clear. A lot of times I hear I don't have time and you actually do. You're just avoiding it. So be careful there. Another sign that your business model isn't yet workable or sustainable and ultimately is that it's not something that you can be known for. It's too general, it's too unclear, it's too fuzzy. You want to build something or your business around something that you can be known for, that you can be sought after for, to make it so much easier to run your business that way, right? And so if you're at a place where your business isn't yet workable, where you don't yet have a workable business model, I should say, the fix is tighten the problem, tighten the target client, tighten the ICP, commit to figuring this out, commit to building out your business model. This is what I want to sell. This is how much I want to sell it for. This is how many of those things I want to sell each year or each quarter. And this is how much time it's going to take to deliver. And there's time left over to run your business and to also have a life as well. That's the first element, the workable business model. Okay, the second element is your purpose-driven vision. If I could pick any of these, it might be this one. If you don't have a reason why you're doing this is hard. This is challenging. This is an emotional roller coaster sometimes. This pushes on so many edges. Running a business is not for the faint of heart. If you don't have a reason why you're doing this and you just fell into it, listen, I fell into it. I've shared with you that story before. I resigned from my corporate executive position and I thought my only choice is to become a stay-at-home mom, which honestly is the hardest job. That is not a job for me. If the CEO hadn't said, well, can you stay on as a consultant? I never would have crossed my mind. So this is not a purposeful decision that I made an intentional decision I made in the beginning, but I have a very clear purpose and I have a very clear vision of why I'm doing this and where I'm going. And that's what keeps me going, because even now, 14 years in, having shifted many, many times what I offer and what my service mix looks like, what my schedule looks like, all of those things, what's challenging, the market has changed so much, all of that. If you don't have a purpose-driven vision, it's incredibly hard. It's like marching uphill with a huge backpack filled with rocks. Terrible, right? You have to know why you're doing this. You have to know where you're going. You have to have a clear picture of what you're building toward financially, personally, professionally. So many of you, I talk to you on the phone or on a Zoom call and you tell me, I don't know what my goals are for this year. You don't have a goal because you don't want to be disappointed. That's not going to get you where you want to go. Instead of avoiding the goal setting because you don't want to feel bad, you want to get yourself to the place where you have a vision and it's purpose driven. And you're okay with, if you don't hit it right now, this quarter, you'll try again. If you don't hit it this year, you'll keep going. The idea is not to just don't have those so you don't feel bad. The point is get to the place where it's okay. You don't love it, but you can handle it when you don't hit your goals because you're fueled by this purpose. You're fueled by this vision. What is it for you? What is it for you? For me, I refuse to go get on a plane because someone else told me to. that I have to go on a business meeting and miss my kids, whatever, fill in the blank. There's a lot of things. I do not and will not ever again go do something that some other person told me to do. I will not be told by a CEO to go do something that I don't think is the right direction. Now, at least I get to decide, and it might not be the right direction, but at least I decided, right? It's super important to me. What is important to you? My vision is I want every corporate person to have the option to live like this. I'm on a mission to help other people have this flexibility. Moms who want flexibility for their families. People that have aging parents to have the ability to take care of those parents if they want to and go with them to doctor's appointments. Whatever your reason is, whether it's for yourself purely or for your family or for some other reason that matters to you, everyone's is different. You have to figure this out because this is what keeps you going when things are hard. You have a down year, you have a down quarter, you have a canceled contract that happened out of the blue. There are a million gut punches in this business. And if you do not have a purpose-driven vision, it's so easy to say, you know what, the grass is greener on the other side. I've got to go back. It's too hard because it is hard. But when you have a reason why you're doing this, it doesn't matter how hard it is. Pick your hard. This one is the best. In my opinion, obviously. It is the best. This is why we're here. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't believe that too, to some degree. Keep working on that belief that this is what you want, why you want it, and get yourself to the place where it doesn't matter what the setback is. It doesn't matter what the challenge is, that you know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it. And that reason is bigger than any challenge that you might face. Okay, that was the second element. Number 3, financial strength. Of course, I said don't focus on this, but of course it's an important element. It's not the only element, but having financial strength makes your business sustainable, where you have goals and metrics and discipline to manage toward those financial outcomes that you want, toward the revenue you want. Pick a number. You get to decide. Don't pick something just because that's what you made in corporate. Well, somebody made that number up. Pick a number that matters to you for whatever reason. Maybe you want to save for something. Maybe you want to have a certain nest egg. Maybe you need a certain amount to live on every month and you want some more on top of that to have a little bit of a cushion. Like whatever the reason is, you want to make sure your business is financially strong. And the common failure points around this are that you're busy but not profitable. You're busy, but you're trying to choose between should I work this hour or bill this hour because you've got a time-based business model. Another common failure point that makes the financial component of your business less sustainable is that you don't have a reserve. So you don't have a cushion. And so you feel like every time you're making a decision about whether you're going to take on an engagement or not, you've got to decide, based on cash flow. You might be fully utilized, but you're underpaid. Financial strength means that you know your numbers. You've set your numbers. You make decisions from your numbers. You believe you can hit your numbers. You're focused on hitting your numbers. When you don't hit your numbers, you don't make that a personal failure. You look at it and figure out, okay, what am I going to test this next quarter to hit my number? You're pricing based on your own business requirements and goals, not based on what you think the client will pay. These are the attributes of financial strength, the third element of your sustainable business. The fourth element of your sustainable business is, of course, a predictable pipeline from beginning to end. A predictable pipeline where you know how to uncover opportunities. Ideally, that those opportunities are coming to you, right? How amazing is it when you don't have to worry anymore about generating leads that inbound leads just come to you? That's an amazing sustainable business. Having that predictable pipeline where those opportunities come to you and you know if you do X, Y, and Z activities to create that top of the pipeline and to move the company through the pipeline, and then ultimately some percentage of those, and the percentage, become clients. and you know the length of the sales cycle. All of these things are attributes of a predictable pipeline. It's your deliberate, repeatable method for generating demand and managing that demand to a decision. It's not referral dependent. It's not word of mouth dependent. You don't start from scratch every time a project is wrapping up. Ideally, you have excess demand, and you can do this in parallel with client delivery. You know the signs when you don't have this, but I'll share with you a few of them, right? If you don't know your lead generation formula, this is a weak point for you right now in your sustainable business. By lead generation formula, I mean you do X activities, a certain quantity of X activities to create Y result. That you understand what that looks like to generate leads and ultimately to move them through. What is your process, your sales process to ultimately move them to a decision? This is not about having luck or timing. This is about you having a system and knowing what that system is and operating it most of the time. You know what the actions are that move conversations forward. You know what your sales process is. You know how you uncover ideal clients. You know how you qualify clients. And you know what the cadence is or the rhythm or the routine is. And you do that most of the time, even when you're really knee deep in client delivery. That's what your predictable pipeline looks like in a sustainable business. This is possible for you. I'm not telling you these elements because they're out of reach for most of us. These are elements you can create in your business. I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of consultants do this. You can do this. But you have to know what these elements are, and you have to intentionally work toward them to bring them to life in your business and to consistently evaluate them and see where your weak points are based on your goals and to operate in that way. All right, the fifth element of the six is deliberate operations, that you have deliberate operations running, that you are running deliberate operations in your business as the business owner, right? These are the systems, the rhythms, the cadences, the routines, the processes that you execute to keep your business running and that you're doing these consistently. Again, not perfectly, but most of the time. This is not things you do when you have time, quote unquote. Most of the time, we don't think we have time. Again, I'll repeat, usually that's because it's out of our comfort zone. So it's easy to say, well, I just ran out of time, when in fact you did have time. You just didn't want to do it. These are not things you just do when you have that extra time or when you think things are calm or under control. Like you're doing these deliberate operations most of the time, even when you're busy with client delivery. Because number one is in place, right? Your workable business model. You've designed your business in a way that protects 4 to 6 to 8 hours a week to work on your business. That it's not the leftover time that happens. And you know exactly how you're using that time. You know exactly what the tasks are, what the routines are. You don't rely on memory or motivation or having a slower week to do these things that keep your business going and that ultimately help you to hit your goals. When things are falling through the cracks, when you notice things piling up, when you know that you're not doing those business routines consistently most of the time, this is a sign that you've got a problem in this area. It's not inherent that independent consulting business is just hard to run because we're wearing so many hats. It's not that it's impossible and you have to pick your poison. This is possible for you to have deliberate operations where you know exactly what you do, when you know what the inputs are, when you know what the expected outputs are, when you know when you're going to do them, when you follow through with when you're going to do them, when you plan to do them. You have a plan, you follow through with it, and nothing is depending on you having a good week to move forward. There's so many weeks where I'm not in the mood to do some of these things that I do to run my business. But those systems that I've set up do not rely on me to feel motivated. They do not rely on me to feel competent. They do not rely on me to feel confidence. I do them because it's the way that I run my business. And I know after testing and testing and testing that X input gets me Y result. And for you, you do the same thing. You keep testing and testing until you figure out X input creates Y result. This is my routine. I love the thought process of when you're not in the mood, you know what the routine is first and foremost. And then once you get past that step, thinking about, you know what, I'm going to do this routine. I'm not in the mood, or I'm trying to talk myself out of it. You could think of a million reasons to talk yourself out of it. But I love the thought process of I want the data. I want the data. I'm going to do this because I want the data to see if I do these things, that if I think I'm going to do these things, it will create this result. I want to know if that's true or not. So that's what you want to be thinking about when you have deliberate operations. You know what the operations are and you follow through with them most of the time. And it doesn't wait for you to feel confident or motivated or certain or anything else, or not overwhelmed. That's a big one, I think. We don't want to feel overwhelmed. So we just avoid it. And then we feel even more overwhelmed because the thing keeps piling up, right? So deliberate operations is that fifth element. And the sixth element is life fit, that your business meshes with the way you want to spend your time. So many consultants that I work with, they don't want the year to look the same, right? They want the winter to look a certain way, the summer to look a certain way, the fall to look a certain way, for whatever the reason is. I have one client who would spend the summer sailing, so she would generate most of her business in the winter and the fall, so she could go sailing in the Caribbean in the summer, spring and summer. Other clients who are moms who want the less delivery focus in the summer. Maybe you're planning a marathon. Maybe you're planning a trip. Quite a few episodes ago, we've had sabbatical episodes. Thinking about, how do I plan ahead for a sabbatical? There's 1,000 reasons why you want to be thinking about and have the opportunity to think about, what does this look like in the context of my overall life? Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this, right? This is not easy. But one of the reasons that we all do this, jump into this crazy situation for ourselves, is to have that autonomy, to have that flexibility, to have that freedom. And then what we end up doing is starting to create a business that looks very similar to our corporate job. I was talking to someone the other day. They said, well, I can't do this because my client's very demanding. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean your client's very demanding? You are half of this relationship. You've set up a situation where you've allowed the client to be very demanding and that they expect you to reply at any, at the drop of a hat. You set that up. It's not the client's fault. You didn't set it up in a way that fits with your life. And that's an opportunity for the next time you engage with the next client, right? Setting it up in a way that fits with your life, with the way you want to be operating. Do you want to be checking your team's messages all night and all day? Do you want to be checking Slack all day and all night? No, you probably don't. Otherwise, you would have a job. So look at your business. Figure out, is it meshing with the way you want to spend your time? Overall, it needs to fit into the big picture and fit even in situations that make it hard. Health issues, family issues, capacity challenges, vacations, sabbaticals, all the things. Having that flexibility, knowing that you can create that flexibility. It might not be there right now in the way you're operating, but it's something you can create for yourself. How much flexibility do you need? Sometimes you might need a little bit. Sometimes you might need a lot. Intentionally building that out so you've got a sustainable business for yourself. Do not recreate your corporate job. And so many of us do, not intentionally, but that's what ends up happening because that's what we're used to. You want to build your own employer of choice. Design the business, run the business, know exactly what you want it to look like so it fits within your life. This is not what you do with whatever's left over. This is all holistically coming together. And this is another component that makes it, that ability to ebb and flow is what makes it sustainable because you created it for yourself. All right, we've gone through the 6 elements. As we wrap up the episode, I want to implore you to also focus on this foundation. And the foundation is you. We've been talking about your business. And I know that these things get interchanged because if you're an independent consultant, you wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't. Or a small boutique consultancy owner. It's so easy to merge and mix together that we think we are our business, but we're not. We've been talking about the 6 elements of your business, and the foundation is you, the way that you think, the way you manage your emotions, your identity. This is the foundation that makes all of those 6 elements work, that makes all of those 6 elements easier, that makes all of those 6 elements stick. Your business owner mentality. This is how you think about how you're operating your business, what's possible for you, what's possible for your clients, what you charge for the work you do, the way you think about your business owner mentality. The foundation of you is also relying on your emotional management. It's your capacity to handle hard stretches without derailing. And your identity, that's what makes all of this stick. If you see yourself as a consultant who does work rather than a business owner who runs a business, as a business owner who's capable of achieving $1 million business, who's capable of achieving a $2 million business, who's capable of taking off 2 months of the year, who's capable of taking off the last week of the year, who's capable of going on a sabbatical, who's capable of finding clients when they need them, who's capable of finding the type of work that you want to be doing, for the type of pricing you want to be charging for the schedule you want to be using. All of this comes down to your identity, the way you think of yourself and what's possible for you. So as you think about these 6 elements, you want to also consider that foundational piece. Where are your areas of opportunity? You can start drilling into those in that IC assessment that I recommended that you take. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to encourage you to put this episode into action. And the first thing I'll say to you is answer that question that I've asked you a couple of times here today. What does having a sustainable business mean to you? We think we want one, but what does that actually mean? And then assess across those 6 elements that we talked about today. Where are you strong? Where are you fragile? Where's your biggest area of opportunity? Identify an element, one element, just pick one, that if you tackled it, it would start creating more sustainability for you, feeling of a greater sense of security for you. Start there. One element. You don't have to do all 6 of them. And then take it deeper by going to icassessment.com and going through that consultant's health check. All right, my friend, here is to you and your sustainable business. I will see you again next week. Take care.
Thanks for joining me this week on the Grow Your Independent Consulting Business podcast. If you liked today's episode, I have 3 quick next steps for you. First, click subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to make sure you don't miss future episodes. Next, leave me a review in your podcast app so other independent consultants can find and benefit too. And finally, to put the ideas from today's episode into action, head over to melisaliberman.com for the show notes and more resources to help you grow your consulting practice from your first few projects into a full-fledged business. See you next week.